Hello friends, hi, welcome to today's video. I'm excited to finally be back with a wrap-up video. I have not done these for a while. It has been a wild few months. I feel like that always seems to happen, but I'm just excited to finally be back to talk about some books that I have read. If we have not met, hello, my name is Tanya, and I like to talk about books. So if you are curious about what I read, maybe get some suggestions, and I don't know, stick around. I'm excited to meet you. If you're new here, hi. And yeah, let's talk about some books. So I actually don't really have many of these in physical print. I read a lot on my Kindle mainly or as an audiobook. So I will just shove them up here for you on the screen. But I had a pretty great reading month, not just numbers wise. We know it's not just about the number, although I will challenge myself every month. But I do have to say that I just read some really great books, from romance to fantasy, I think a couple of nonfiction even. So it was just a great month of variety. I read a total of 11 books, which is the most I have read any month this whole year in 2026. So pretty exciting. So let's get into it and talk about some of these books. Now, this first book is called Forever Ripley. Sorry if my lighting's a little bit goofy today, but we're going to do the best we can. Great. So the first book that I read is called Forever Ripley, and this is a middle grade novel that is told from the perspective of a dog, which right away that caught my attention. I will say from the beginning, if you want your heart broken in the most beautiful way, pick up this book. I know it's meant to be for middle grade, but honestly, as an adult in my 30s, I was like bawling my eyes out. I just think it's written very beautifully. It follows the story of a dog, and this dog is nearing the end of her life. She knows that she is, and she is kind of narrating through what she's going through and her being there for her humans. And I think this book does a really great job of dealing with handling the topic of grief with the loss of a pet, but also the loss of humans, especially a parent, because the girl in the story has been about 5 years since her father passed away in an accident. And so it's kind of following her since that time, her and her mom. And it is just I don't know, it's just a really beautiful story. It's not very long, so it is a very quick read, but I think it has a lot of depth for a book that is middle grade, which obviously doesn't mean that middle grade can't have depth, but I think I was just surprised by the amount. And again, just the fact that it's written from the viewpoint of a dog, I think just makes it really unique and just really, really beautiful to think sometimes like how the dog thinks about her humans and how she sees the end of her life and things like that. It's just, again, it's really beautiful. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Just really great. It really was a surprise for me that I did not expect this month at all. And the next book I listened to on audio as an e-arc, and it is called The Shippers by Catherine Center. This book will actually be coming out this month on May 19th, and it is a romance. I ended up really enjoying it, but I will say it's not my favorite from Catherine Center. I have read a lot of her books. Some of them have been 5 stars for me. This one follows a couple that, well, they're not a couple, but friends that they grew up as best friends. They fell apart. Something happened. You're not exactly sure. And now 4 years has gone by and they have come back together. The main character, her sister, is getting married on a cruise ship. So the family and friends, which includes the male main character, they go and they are on this cruise ship. So kind of close proximity. And it has this plot that was not one of my favorite plots. It's kind of like, in a way, like fake dating, sort of like fake flirting sort of thing. But that's not one of my favorite plots in books. So I was not the biggest fan of that. And I think the biggest challenge for me that I found is that the female main character, she is meant to be this like math genius that, got this like scholarship and all this, and she does all these math things, just like genius woman, super bright and like really creative and all these things. She does art along with her math and all this and everything. And yet just like the way she acted just seemed really foolish to me. And I know we all have our moments in life. Like, we're not all perfect, but for some reason that was really hard for me to like get those two sides together. It didn't make sense to me that she would be acting and kind of saying things that she did. I don't know. It was an enjoyable experience. I thought the audiobook narrators did really well, but I ended up rating it a 3 out of 5 just because, again, I really love the male main character. He was wonderful, and there's like some funny parts to the story as well. There are beautiful moments as well, but I just think it's not my favorite from Catherine Center. But I think check it out. You might really enjoy just a sweet romance, a little bit of rom-com vibes as well, and it takes place on a cruise ship. So you may like it. Check it out. Now, this next one is one of my 5-star reads for the month. I was so excited to get into it. It is the new Abby Jimenez book, The Night We Met. And I will say I am a huge fan of Abby Jimenez. Most of her books have been 4 or 5 stars for me. This one was also a 5-star read, like I said, and I really enjoyed it. It follows the story of Larissa. I always say it in the Russian way, I guess. Larissa in English, Larissa and Chris. And it's kind of in the same universe as the previous book, which I can't say You'll Remember Me, I think it is. So it's some of those same friend group people, but you can read it without reading the first, I think, and that's fine. But Larissa is dating, is it Mike? I believe she is dating Mike. And she's going through some things in her life with her mom, her own struggles. And Mike is just kind of going through his own struggles with addiction and other things, and alcoholism and other issues in his life, anxiety. And so he is not always exactly showing up for Larissa, but when he's not showing up, his best friend Chris is. And when I first heard that plot, I was like, oh no, is this like a cheating trope? Because I really don't like that, or even like love triangles. But I would not say that this is a love triangle to say, I don't know, this was not like that to me. If you are someone who's normally like, nope, not at all. I read this, like I said, and it did not feel that way. There was not like a cheating trope or anything like that. It was done really well. And if you are a fan, if you maybe have read other Abby Jimenez, or if you are looking for something that is a romance book and has beautiful romance, but also has that depth and real life and the mess of humanity, I think that you will really enjoy Abby Jimenez. I really like this one as well. Again, I think the way that she puts into words what we are experiencing in everyday life, just she puts it in a very well-worded way, a lot better than I am like doing right now. I'm failing at that. But that's just, you know, I don't know. It just was written so well. And again, it looks at the topics of addiction and poverty and family dynamics and just so many other things. And I love the story. I love the effort that Chris put in, that even if he would have never ended up with her, the feelings that he had for her and the love that he had for her and the support that he was willing to provide for her, even if it was as just a friend and he would not, you know, step over any boundaries or anything like that, I thought just was really great. And I am definitely excited to see, hopefully in the next book, I believe it's going to be Mike's story. And I am excited to see where his story goes, and hopefully the redemption and things that he will get and the opportunities for love and actual love in the other books. So I'm very excited, but I love this book. I flew through it and really enjoyed it. Now, this next book, it was something totally different from me. I don't normally read a lot of nonfiction, or especially like true crime. I'm not a true crime girly, but I came across this audiobook on NetGalley. I believe that it's a series that has been, I think, already released or will be. I can't remember the exact dates, but it is a series called Trials of the Centuries, and they are books and audiobooks based on actual trials that have happened throughout the century, as you can tell by the title. I'm not a true crime girly, so a lot of these I did not know. This one was called A Drop of Poison. It's the tale of Dr. Crippen, and it's just kind of a dramatic audiobook. The audiobook is how I read this, and it was amazing. It was very, very short. This one was, I think it's only like an hour or an hour and a half, and you really felt immersed. They had a whole immersive cast and noises and sounds. You felt like you were in the courtroom. It was really cool. It was just something totally random. I don't know. I just came across it and I was like, why not? And it was great. I think for sure, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if it was like just the print book of the trial. But the audiobook was really great. Again, as someone who knows nothing about true crime, I think you would really enjoy it. It follows the story of the trial that happened for a Dr. Crippen. They found human remains in his basement. They think that it was his wife that was killed. He claims, no, he's innocent. A whole trial happens, things that happen. I don't want to give it away. I don't know, look into it. Totally random, but I thought it was really cool, actually. I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Something random, but it was really enjoyable and a fun time. And this next book that I read was part of a book club for our local library, and it was Theo of Golden. I know this book has been making its rounds. It's been really popular. I was very excited to read this as well. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not sure what rating to give it. I keep going back and forth in my mind and thinking about it. It definitely was not up to the hype that I built up in my head. I will say that. But that does not mean it was bad. There were a lot of things I did enjoy about this book. I just think it was different than what I imagined it would be in my head. If you don't know, just a little summary of it. So Theo of Golden follows the story of a man named Theo, and he shows up in a southern town of Golden, Georgia. He randomly shows up there. I think he's originally from Portugal. Nobody really knows what he's doing. He seems to be like wealthy. He seems to just move into this town, and then he starts buying these portraits that are hanging in a coffee shop, and the portraits are done by a local artist in town, and the portraits are of people that are in that town. Hope that makes sense. So the townspeople portraits are in the town coffee shop, and people can buy them, they're for sale. And so he decides to purchase these portraits and give them individually to the person that they are drawn to. Does that make sense? So like he would try to give, like if it's a portrait of me, he would try to give it back to me as like a gift. So I thought that premise was very interesting. Now with this story, I will say, and I have heard some people, and we kind of talked about this at book club, but some people just find it kind of slow. And I do agree. I feel like there were elements of the story where it felt kind of very that repetitive of like, he buys the portrait, contacts them. There's a story of someone else. He buys another portrait, contacts them. Another story of someone else. So there is that kind of repetitive element to the story. I do say I think the redemptive quality of the story is the stories of the people that you are, hearing about, of just real people in the community of all different walks of life, and just going through so many different things, good and bad and tragic, and how they all work as a town and humanity. And in that process, we are also finding out about Theo and his life, and why is he even in this town? Why is he the way he is? And I will say again, I think I feel comfortable saying now, I think 4 out of 5 stars. I do think that, again, I can see why some people, I think the story is very kind of character driven. There is obviously, I know there is a plot, but it is very kind of slow at times, and you really have to just kind of enjoy it for the elements of like humanity and just the good story of like heartwarming story of Theo. So I really enjoyed it in 4 out of 5, but I think it's a little bit different, like I said, than what I anticipated. So go with that. I think try it. It's still a good read. Then the next book that I finished in April was called Positively Penelope, and it is actually part of a series by Pepper Basham, and the series follows the sister, I believe the sister or the cousin from the first book. And so she goes to a European country that is, these books are based in this country. And she goes to Europe to do an internship in a like theater. And she, like, her whole life is theater. She's grown up with theater. So if you are someone who is a theater kid, there are so many references to like Julie Andrews and to different theater productions. I did feel like even me as not a theater person, I did feel like I was able to keep up. So I think that's not a problem. But if you are someone, I think you'll especially enjoy it. Or if you are a fan of Julie Andrews, which I am. So that was really fun nod to her in a lot of this book. And it was a sweet romance. I liked it. I thought it was fun. This book, it did take me a few months. I kind of stopped, came back, stopped, came back. And there is a third book that follows the brother of the sibling group. So I think I'm going to try to read that book for sure because I want to finish the series. I think it is a good series. It's not like super wild for me. The second book, I gave it 3 out of 5, so not bad. I personally enjoy the element of this book because it's kind of written in different formats. So you have like standard book, but then you also have like text messages and emails. And I like those kind of books. Those are interesting to me. But if that, some people might find that annoying or distracting, but I thought that they meshed well together. So I just think it was a sweet romance. It was really good. And yeah, I don't know. Try it out, especially if you've already started the series. But I will hopefully continue and finish the third book in the next couple months. Then I read, and I haven't done an update, so you guys don't know, but I have recently heard about and gotten into the series, The Unselected Journals of Emma Lyon. Maybe you guys have seen this going around, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like, I don't really know. And they are on Kindle Unlimited, which is nice. And I am really liking this whole series. If you don't know, it's just very character-based, and it follows the story of Emma Lyon, and they are her journals essentially. And I think there's 8 volumes out now. I finished volume 3 in April, and I don't know like much to say, but it's based in the 1800s, I believe. And Emma Lyon, she's funny, she's witty. There's different like little plots of like possible romances. It follows this like her house that she's living in England, and in this town is just like kind of a quirky, I don't know, English town, and the characters in the city are just quirky and goofy, and you've got just all kinds of cast of characters, but her wit and her like remarks are so funny and sharp, and there's just something about being in that small town. I don't know, during the 1800s, I'm just really, really enjoying it. It's kind of hard to describe, but it is very character based. So there's not like crazy wild like action and drama, I would say, but it's still so interesting. I don't know. I really like it. I'm really enjoying it. The people are funny. She's funny. I find myself like laughing out loud. And yeah, it's really good. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely, try it out. The first journal is very quick, so you can kind of get a sense of if you like it or not, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And then in this next part of the month was one of my favorite parts. I got into a fantasy series, which I have not for a while. I just haven't really been in the mood. And I kind of think I saw a few on Instagrams or something, or like reels for the series The Wolf King. And I honestly have never read anything with like werewolves and stuff. So, but I was like, I don't know, I'll try it out. And I got so into it. So I read the first book, The Wolf King, and then I read the second book, The Night Prince. And I was so upset because the third book is not out until November. And I was like, dang it, because I thought it was a whole like completed trilogy. So upset. But I'm really excited to read the third one. So I won't give too much away, but you can kind of tell. So it follows a story of a princess, Aurora, and she is human and lives in the human realm, the world, and they're in the same world. But there are like the humans, and then there are the wolves, as they call them. And the humans, of course, they think that the wolves are below them, that they're like subhuman and all this. And the wolves, they can become obviously shifters, and they become wolves like once a month in the full moon, things like that. And so essentially there's this political element of society where the humans try to control and power over the wolves. And so that's kind of the premise of the society. And so Aurora, the princess, ends up being kidnapped, kind of taken by werewolves when they escape, by the wolves when they escape from the castle. And there kind of the journey begins. So she is surrounded by these wolves. Things are happening. There's, of course, some romance between one of the main wolves, the main characters. And it's just really cool. I thought it was kind of random. Like if you told me like, oh, there's like werewolves and stuff. I'm like, what? But I thought it was really cool. I thought it was done really well. I loved the political elements of the societies and like all the intrigue and the lore that kind of was surrounded, the storytelling behind the society of like the wolves, and like even the connection to the people and things like that. So it was just really cool. I really liked it. I thought the romance was done well. And yeah, so I read the first one, and then there's a second book, which is The Night Prince. I don't want to give much away because obviously it connects to the first book. I will say there are a few little elements that kind of made me think of ACOTAR in a way, but not in a way that I was like, oh, this is like too much the same. Like, I think it was done and rewritten in a really good way, that it was still a really enjoyable, really enjoyable book, even though obviously it still had a lot of those kind of similar like romantic-y tropes. I still think it was done pretty well, and I personally really enjoyed it, and I thought the writing was pretty good and it was fun, and I still really had a really fun time. And it's been a while since I've really gotten into a fantasy series like this, so I personally would recommend it. Again, The Wolf King and The Night Prince, and I'm waiting for the third book. I think it's November. The Wolf Queen, I think is what it's called, is coming out in November. So now, as soon as I got reading The Night Prince, I was like, okay, well, what do I do with myself? Because I just kept wanting to be in that world. But I was like, let me just do a little, like, I don't know, palette cleanser. And I saw that Catherine Center actually came out with a little short story that was on Amazon Prime, or like Kindle, I think it is, Kindle Limited. And it was called Everybody's Favorite Guy. And I read this really quick. I think, again, it's only a short story. I think it's like 60 or 80 pages or so. I just thought it was a really cute story. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5. I think, again, for a short story, it was done actually pretty well. It follows a story of family or former friends or childhood friends. Again, you find out that something happened, kind of almost similar to the Shippers, like that I told you guys, her other book, but it just takes place in Colorado, I believe. They're going on a road trip to spread the ashes of their fathers because they had both passed away. And so they are there with their moms. It's kind of like a friend's road trip, and they kind of work through their feelings, and you kind of, finding out about the past. So again, very quick. So there's not like tons of like development, it's not a full-blown book, but it was still a really fun read. 4 out of 5. Check it out if you're curious. Again, especially if you're a fan of Catherine Center's books, I think you like this short little sweet read. I really liked it. Then, because again, like I was saying, I was like, I want to be in this fantasy world with the werewolves and stuff. And I just was like, maybe I'll try to find another book. And so I tried to start this series. Well, I started the series, I will say. And it is the Flames and Thorns series. And I did read this first book, which is The Empire of Flame and Thorns. And I ended up finishing it. I did read it. I kind of really got into it. I thought, oh, maybe this will be like my new series until the other one comes out. But it just was not the same. I don't know why. It had a lot of elements that you think I would enjoy. It has dragons, and like society, like different groups. And there's like the Fae and the dragon shifters. And I have to say, there's like trials also, which was really cool. So these Fae, I'm getting ahead of myself. Essentially, it follows a story of a Fae, a society where there are Fae, and they are now being kind of ruled, almost punished by the dragon shifters, because centuries ago, the Fae had enslaved the dragon shifters and like treated them horribly. Eventually, the dragon shifters revolted. They got their freedom, and so now they essentially like are perpetually punishing and hating like on the Fae because of like the things that they had done to them in the past. And this was like centuries ago, but it's still being continued today. So the Fae and the dragon shifters hate each other, but the dragon shifters are in power. And every 150 years, I think it is, they have these trials where the Fae can fight to become like the winners of the trials, and hopefully they get to leave this like contained Fae city and hopefully, get freedom and get a new life. And so all these Fae are competing. They want to win the trials. Think again, like Hunger Games, right? Like to the death, sometimes like really crazy, vicious trials. That was really fun. And there is a kind of romance between one of the dragon shifters, the commander of the army, and he's like dark. You guys know the romantic vibes, right? Which I'm okay with, but I don't know, something with this series, it definitely ended on a crazy cliffhanger. And give you a sneak peek for next month, but I tried to get into the second book and I could not. I don't know. I was really excited to, but just something with it wasn't clicking. The first book was all right. So I don't know. Maybe you will read it and you will totally get into it and love it. But I really liked the first book. I enjoyed it, but I'm kind of sad that I don't think I'll be continuing the rest of the series. And I also feel like, at least based on what I read in book 2, it just became kind of really spice focused. Like that I felt was like the whole point almost of the whole second book. And I was like, okay, like, can we get into plot? Okay, so maybe I don't want to give all of it away. But basically the first book, I felt like there's definitely so much action and plot and so much going on. But yeah, I don't know. So I still ended up giving it 3 out of 5, but it was not the same as the Wolf King for me. It did not fulfill that same like fantasy vibe that I wanted to have. So I read it. It was a fun time in the moment, but I don't think I'll be continuing the series. So I think those are all the books. And yeah, I thought it was such a really great reading month. I felt like I read so many different things, but if you guys have read The Wolf King and if you really enjoyed it, maybe let me know what other books are kind of similar to it, because I would like to kind of read something similar. But I don't know yet. I am not finding it. So I'm going to focus on other books, of course, to read, but just let me know if you have some thoughts. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully next month, and happy reading, and see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.